Hello, everyone. Welcome to chapter 255 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekly edition, and man, oh man, it's been raining all day today. So, a perfect day to get into the shop and do some cleanup with a bit of a twist. So, if you want to see what that's all about, all you need to do is stay tuned. Well, those of you that know me, if you're out here and you're taking a class, chances are the shop isn't too bad. Yeah, it's full. It's always full. But now when I'm working in here by myself, it's a disaster. I have one more student day coming up, and the electric bass guitar that's being built, really cool, by the way. We tried a bunch of new things on it, which I'm not going to get into, but my student with 3 shades of blue aniline dye and some black fabric dye, thank you, Mel, for the idea. He's got a really cool sunburst on his base body, so that's going to be cool. I'll see if I can take some pictures of it when it's done and show them to you. It's dicey putting names on YouTube, so I try not to do that. But anyway, getting back to my shop, yeah, this turning area especially is something that I need to rearrange. When we have classes out here, this little general here always seems to get used, and it's a mess. And it's not a good place for it. Like, it just doesn't work. So I need to come up with something a little better for this area. But the other problem that I have here is I've got too much wood here. So I've got probably, I don't know, 10 of these blocks of wood just sitting here, taking up space. And I need to do something with them. So these are actually blanks from my poplar trees that came down a few years ago. So I need to take them from this to this. And the way I'm going to do that is with my McNaughton coring system. So I was thinking that a really good way for me to get to know my McNaughton system better is to, when we have bad weather like today, come out here, put a big piece between centers in my lathe and core it. Then I can either move these cores out to my new lumber storage area, or I can use them up in here. So this is just a part of me cleaning up today. So I am not an expert with my McNaughton system. I've used it a number of times. I've probably cored, I don't know, maybe 10 things with it, but it's all been over many years, and I kind of forget in between. So I found some good resources, and I am slowly, it's actually a pretty neat system to use once you get your head around it. So with that in mind, we're going to go right into this video, and I'm going to do some coring for you. So we'll see you in a bit at the lathe. Well, in the previous clip, I told you a bit of a fib. When I sat down to edit this and reviewed all the segments that I had and kind of added the time up, I realized it was getting too long. I know my attention span, anything more than about a half hour, I sit down and do in segments. So I thought that if I broke it up here, the next section would be a bit more manageable. So this is going to be a two-parter. I've already filmed it, so some of the reference I make may not make sense, but now I'm going to insert this so you know that this is going to be a two-part video. So in the first part, we're going to cover the McNaughton system itself, lay it all out and show that to you. And then the second part of the first part is preparing the blank. And I do something I think is a wee bit different. I haven't seen it, but nobody seems to include that in the video. So I thought I would include that for you. So And then the second part, which I will release as the weekend edition, so they'll follow one after the other, is the actual laying out and coring of the piece. So I hope that works better for you than sitting down and getting the popcorn out and enjoying one long video. So anyway, now we're going to get into it. Well, maybe before we get into turning, what I should do is introduce you to the McNaughton system. Um, I have to admit, in my area here, like I've said before in videos, this is definitely one-way country. Um, just talking to people in the turning club and stuff, and they won't badmouth it at all because they know I have one and they don't want to insult me. But it's the feeling that I get when I overhear them talking with others is they're not terribly in favor of this system. Now, I'm not that much of a rebel that I would just buy one just to spite other people. There is one thing that's more important than fitting in with a group. I'm cheap. Like, I got this at Lee Valley for a screaming deal. In fact, it had been returned and it was in their kind of bin that they want to get rid of things, and the price kept dropping. And all of a sudden, one day it was gone. So I knew the manager there really well, great guy. Um, and I just asked him about it, and he said, "Well, they just took it out of there. They're going to send it back or whatever they're going to do with it." And I actually just taught a class for them. I believe it was a router class. And the manager just asked, "Well, you're interested in that thing. You just want to take it instead of us paying for the class." And I thought, that's a deal. So realistically, this thing cost me about $100 Canadian. So it's pretty cheap. And that's why I have it. And the other thing is, I'm going to learn how to use it properly. I can use it okay, and you'll see in the video. But I'm going to try to, in this summer when it's raining and pouring, I don't get to work outside like I should be today. I'm going to maybe put a bowl or a blank on here and core a little bit, get used to it, get the feel of it. But today I did one as a demo for you. But I think before we get into that, let's take a look at what this system actually entails. So the McNaughton system, I'm not even sure what it lists for now. I believe it's still cheaper than the one-way coring system, depending on what things you buy, I think. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it uses a captive system to hold the tool in place. So when you lift up on this, which I mentioned in the video, it's kind of counterintuitive in a way. It really is locked in tight. I don't think there's any way this lathe, even this 3-horse lathe, would stop if you did this, if something caught. So, but if you're holding it wrong, that could be a problem. So that's why it works. I believe the one-way system has support that follows into the bowl as you're turning, which is great. Some people like this better. This is much more popular with our neighbors to the south. I have a video, a guy that I watch quite often. The channel is Worth Effort, and the channel operator's father does a video on the McNaughton system. And in my mind, it's the best video on the McNaughton system that I've seen. He does a very good job of explaining everything. And when you start watching it a number of times, like I have, you start watching for the things he's not talking about, like how he's setting and moving things. And that's also very helpful. So if you have a system like this and you're learning how to use it, yeah, read the instructions. When I bought mine, it was only 8 photocopied pages. Not bad. Read that, but then go and watch that Worth Effort video. It's worth effort. Okay, and you can watch this one too if you want to watch somebody who's learning. The worth effort guy, he's a pro. He knows how to use that system front and back. Me, I've done a little bit, but I'm learning. So that's the key that you need to keep in mind here. And remember, I said this to my students all the time. If I can do it, you can do it. So anyway, what do you get for your money's worth? Well, first of all, the tool post. I'm going to grab this out of here. There we go. That's that captive system I was showing you. What's important with this is to keep everything well lubricated. You want everything smooth. And I have a collar on here that I can just drop in. And if I'm using this cutter, it's right on. But you have to make sure you adjust the height for each cutter because they're different heights. Okay, so that comes with the set, and there's several different iterations of it. Like some have a centerpiece with a rod across, and you can use both sides. I like this because there's no way it's coming out of here. So that's good. Then you get a handle, and this handle to me just isn't quite long enough, although you'll see in the video later, it was handy to be able to have it here when I was reaching way across the lathe to get the right arc. So that's important too. So you get a handle. These are all Kelton tools. All right, then the cutters. Well, we'll start with the one that I use a little bit on just about every one I do, and that's the straight cutter. And you use the straight cutter to mark where you're going to go in with the curved cutter. It just lets you get that curved tip in there and stabilized a bit if you have about a 1/2 inch deep cut. Okay, so you got a straight cutter. And I think, if I remember correctly, since I bought my set used, I'm not sure if I got everything. And I think it's supposed to be a large set. So the large tools are obviously longer and thicker this way as well. So I believe these two are the originals that I got. And before I even turned anything, I thought, well, that isn't going to work for everything I'm going to do. So I bought this maybe out of a medium set. I'm not sure. But if you go into your Lee Valley or whoever sells these, and you can look at these things individually, Lee Valley sells these things individually. So I was saying, Lee Valley sells these individually. So if you can go and, at least they used to. So you can go there and do that if you want to. So they're the cutters. Now there are some things you need to know about these cutters. This is a very hardened piece of steel on the top. I'm not sure. I don't think it's carbide, but it's some type of high-speed steel maybe, but it's really thin. So if you sharpen these, and I think you should every once in a while, you really don't want to grind on the top at all, because you really, like, I'm not kidding. You maybe have a 30-second to work with here. So what I do is I just take my diamond hone, this is a credit card hone, and just go up to the top, from the bottom to the top. And that's all you do. There's not much to it. Sometimes I'll just flatten and get the burr off a little bit. And then you can get pointed versions, and some people actually grind theirs flat. And the guy on Worth Effort has ones, he has both. He's ground some flat, the square on top, and he has advantages and disadvantages for that. But that's a little over my head. I'm not there yet. So that's what is important. Just sharpen these, make sure you don't grind that hardened surface off. If something happens to your hardened surface and you have no choice but to replace it, the reason I got this set so cheap is because this knife was damaged. The one that I'd used every cut up until a month ago was the cutter was wrecked. There was no salvaging it. So what I did is I ground this flat and I silver soldered the same material that I'm making my little teardrop cutters for my hollowing tools, same material, and sharpened it the same way. So now I've got a little over a 16th maybe of cutter. And again, you can sharpen it, the way that they recommend. But here you've got a little bit more leeway to work with. So if your tools come to the end of their life, don't just throw them away. Grind them flat, get some silver solder, and a little bit of that metal lathe cut off tool stuff, and silver soldered on. This one cuts just as good as the others. So anyway, another thing you're going to notice about my tools is that some of them have the paint ground off of them. Okay, the ones that I use, these two here, I take the paint off of them because the better you can get things to slide, the better they work. And this last one, when I was coring, when I cored well, you'll see it I'm talking about it. But the last one, when I reset, it just went in like butter. It just slid so smoothly. And I've sanded all the bottom smooth and I've rounded the edges. So there's no sharp edges to hook. It's just like surfacing your tool rest on your lathe. You want to make sure that that's in good shape all the time. Same goes for these. And I just didn't like the paint on there. I didn't like the feel of it. So I took it off. This one I haven't used yet, but when I start using it, I have one big piece under the lathe here, probably this cutter. When I start using it, I guarantee you the paint's going to come off. And then these things have been sawn or something when they've been shaped, and they're little lines, almost like kerf lines running across. And that's causing, I like to grind those out as well. But that's your McNaughton system. Whether you like it or don't like it, if you get one at a deal, or you're somebody that likes this system and won't go with a one way, and there's all kinds of other ones out there now too. So I got a good deal on this. I'm happy with it. It does exactly what I want it to do. So instead of just talking about it, it's time to show you what it does. 1-0. Well, I've got the piece in the lathe. This isn't a very good piece to core. It's really dry already and it's been cracking a little bit, but I need to practice. It's been a while since I've cored something, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do here. So maybe as long as it's raining outside and I can't work outside, what I'll try to do is get some of this stuff cored, and then I can store it back out in my lumber storage that I'm working on and clean up a little bit in the turning area here. It's really gotten quite out of control. So we're going to make this, we're going to turn the outside form and put a foot on it so I can put it in one of my one-way chucks with larger jaws on it. I'll show you that later. But one thing I do before I start turning the outside is I kind of try to envision which of the cutters that I have, and I have one more straight one, but which are the cutters that I have that I'm going to use, like that curve. So what curve is going to go on the side of this bowl? I've done a little bit of looking, and because it's fairly shallow, I'm kind of thinking maybe that one. Now this is the wrong way, of course. This is going to be the bottom of the bowl, and the foot's going to be here. But just kind of getting an idea of, with the depth of this piece, I have a feeling I'm going to be using this cutter here. So I'm going to start cutting, but I'm going to keep these guys in mind as I shape the outside. I think that's the only thing that I do maybe a little bit differently than what I've seen on the internet. So, well, I guess let's start spinning this piece. Well, when you're working with a piece like this, especially at the beginning before anything's round, it's really important that you slow the lathe down, and you're very careful. I have my face shield on. You can't see that now because I want you to see this. But and I'm not going to show you the whole rough out process because that's going to take me a while. So here we go. We're just going to make it round. Um, I'm turning, right now it's spinning at about 550 RPM at the center, and it's flying a little faster on the outside edge, but you just got to go slow. Whoops. I had my cutters on my lathe bed and they're vibrating off. So let's move those. I don't like those falling. I don't like them falling on the cement. Okay, we're going to move this a little bit closer. Give me a little bit more control. When you're doing this, slow down. Okay, this isn't, unless you're an expert, this isn't the part you want to hurry through. That's just a way for you to get hurt. So we're going to take it slow. Oh my goodness, and there it goes again. At least that's the one I never use. Oops, got in a little bit too aggressively. And I should also check which belt I'm on here too. No, we're okay. I think that should work. But anyway, yeah, I've got a ways to go here. I don't think I'm going to show you a whole lot more right now. We've got a few minutes of footage here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to make this round, and I'll bring you back, maybe for the final cuts. But when it's spinning faster, when it's a little easier to control. But yeah, this is important first step. I am using my safe drive in here, just so you know. And on the back, just the standard one-way live center. And I guess like it might be better using a spur drive here for this, but I'm so used to using those safe drives of mine that I just always use them. So anyway, we'll bring you back when there's something happening. Okay, well, it's pretty much the shape I got out of it. The shape is somewhat dictated by the blank, but I'll show you what I mean here. Let's see if I can get this in. Okay, that's pretty much, that curve is pretty much parallel to my cutter. And I found that I have very limited use of this tool, but it seems to work good for me if I do that. Now, this is only the second time I'm going to be using this cutter. And you'll notice that the paint is kind of ground off of it and all that. Well, I'm going to talk about that maybe a little bit more later, but it's important that your tool slides easily as you're working. So I've taken off all the edges here. It's all relieved. It's all smooth. And I found the paint uh, a little bit grippy, so now it's gone. And yeah, that's what I do. So what I'll do now is I'll take this thing and I'll turn it around. I'll put it in the chuck, and then I'll do the layout to get started. Well, I've got the outside profile the way I want it. It's not super smooth. I really don't think that's that important right now, because this is all going to get turned again anyway. So what I am going to do now, though, is I'm going to level off or surface the top of the bowl, top of the blank. So that's what's going to happen next. I'm not going to move the tailstock in for this, although I will have the tailstock in when I start to core. Now, I didn't really show you this, but I've got this in my one-way stronghold chuck with the tenon's about 4 inches, just a shade over. So it's the number 3 jaws, I think, that I have on my chuck. And I'm very fortunate. I happen to have 2 strongholds, so I can set them up differently, and I'm not constantly changing jaws. So that's been handy. So I'm going to kind of put my back or my shoulder to you a little bit, and I'm going to get in here and I'm just going to flatten the top off. And then we're going to mark it out. We're going to start coring. Okay, but yes, and when you're doing stuff like this, especially bigger bowls, wear a shield. Okay, let's get at it. I switched my lathe over to the slower speed. It needed a bit more torque. You'd think with a 3-horse motor that you wouldn't need to do that, but it just gives you an idea of the forces that are at work here. So, and I'm just going to start. And this is just with my normal bowl gouge. And as much as I would like to speed this up in the video, I find that I have all kinds of trouble uploading if I've gone to fast motion. So that's why you haven't seen any of it in my videos lately. There, I think that's good enough. I'm just going to turn it off and see exactly what I have here. Oh no, we've still got more to go there yet. Okay, back to it. Got to get a good firm grip. Yeah, a little bit more. The last class I had with my young students, one of my turners who has, he's basically turned a mallet in a bowl, and he wanted me to show him how to core. And I don't know. And as I go through this here, I realize all the turning skills that I've accumulated over the years. I'm using a lot of them. And I just didn't think with his level of experience that he was quite ready to do this. Okay, I'm hoping that that's it. Nah, we're still. I'm going to go one more time. I'm only going, the shaft speed's only 750 RPM. So we're not going terribly fast. There we go. That'll do. Okay, the face is smooth enough. Actually cut quite nicely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the marking out that hopefully gives you the right cores with when you're using the McNaughton system. So I will come back. There's a bit of a setup I need to do this. Well, that's the end of the first edition, or the first part. So hopefully you found that useful. I think I would have appreciated something like that when I was getting to know my McNaughton system. Like I said in the video a couple of times, out here, that McNaughton system is just not very popular. So I got mine, like I said, because it was cheap. So I don't know, you kind of feel like a ninja swinging this thing around, but it's going to work for what I do. So we will come back with the weekend edition in a couple of days, and I will re-edit that section and we'll post it. So I think it'll be, well, maybe even a little longer than this. So I'm not sure anymore. But anyway, it's going to be 2 pieces, and away we go. So come back for part 2. If you've never used this system before, I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, take care. Have a good rest of the week.